Well, hey there. I'm the ASMR philosopher, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to sleep, and also to get my philosophy reading done. This is my first ever ASMR video. I am bored in Australia and need something to do, so I'm going to be reading you my first philosophy reading. It's an excerpt from The Pig Who Wants to Be Eaten by Julian Pagini. Specifically, chapter 90, Something We Know Not What. George Bishop stared intently at the bowl of oranges before him, and then thought into thin air. He started by making an obvious distinction between the features of the oranges that are mere appearances, and those properties that they really have. The color, for example, is a mere appearance. We know that the color blind, or animals with different physiologies, see something very different from the normal human experience of orange. The taste and smell are also mere appearances, as these too vary according to who or what is perceiving the fruit, while the fruit itself remains the same. But as he started stripping away the mere appearances from the fruits, he found himself left with vanishingly little. Could he even talk about the actual size and shape of the fruits, when these features seemed to depend on how his senses of sight and touch perceived them? To truly imagine the fruit in itself, independent of the mere appearances of sense perception, he was left with the vague idea of something, he knew not what. So what is the real fruit, this gossamer something, or the collection of mere appearances after all? It doesn't take much reflection to open up the distinction between appearance and reality. As infants, we are naive realists, assuming the world is just as it appears. As we grow up, we learn to distinguish between the way things appear to our senses and the way they really are. Some of these, such as the difference between things which are genuinely small and those which are merely far away, are so obvious that they are scarcely remarked upon. Others, such as the way in which the taste or color of a thing varies according to the perceiver, we know, even though in everyday life, we ignore or forget it. As we develop a basic scientific understanding of the world, we probably come to see this difference in terms of the underlying atomic structures of objects and the way in which they appear to us. I hope that wasn't too loud. We may be dimly aware that this atomic structure itself is explained in terms of subatomic structures, but we need not bother ourselves with the details of our current best science. All we need to know is that the way things appear is a function of the interplay between our senses and the way they really are. All this is little more than mature common sense, but it is common sense that glosses over some important details. Reality has been distinguished from appearances, yet we don't have any clear idea what this reality is. No problem, you may think. The intellectual division of labor means that we leave this job to the scientists. It is not the case, though, that scientists are much in the world of appearances as we are. Sorry, is it not the case, though, that scientists are as much in the world of appearances as we are? They too study what is presented to our five senses. The fact that they have instruments that allow them to examine what is not visible to the naked eye is a red herring. When I look through a telescope or microscope, I am as stuck in the world of appearances as I am when I see with unaided vision. Scientists are not looking beyond the world of appearances. They are merely looking at that world more closely than we ordinarily do. This is a philosophical, not scientific problem. We seem to understand the difference between the world of appearances and the world as it is, but it seems impossible to get behind appearances and see this real world. When we understand that the moon is far away, not tiny, that the stick in the water is not bent, we are not getting beyond appearances. We are merely learning how some appearances are more deceptive than others. This leaves us with a dilemma. Do we remain committed to the idea of a world beyond appearances, and accept that we have no idea what this world is, and can't even imagine how we might come to know of it? Or do we give up on the idea and accept that the only world we can live in and know is the world of appearance after all? Short reading. And since a 5-minute ASMR video is much too short, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on it. I think it's interesting the examples that are often used in philosophy for vision, um, like things far away are actually small, or the stick in water isn't actually bent. I think it was, I don't know if it was Descartes who originally coined those ideas, but he's pretty old, so it seems like he came up with something that all the other philosophers have stuck with. Simple examples, I suppose. Um, and then something that it touches on as well, how the taste or color of a thing varies according to the individual person. I feel like that's something that I've often talked about with my friends and siblings. You can never know if the color you see, the brown that I see, is the same brown that you see. And it's the same with every sense, aside from, I suppose, sight would be not sight. That's what color is. Yeah, hearing, I suppose, since we all can decipher languages. But again, how do we know that the pitches we hear are perceived the same, or the textures that we feel, um, or the the things we taste and smell? Smell especially. Smell and taste are such complicated senses. Like, you know how they say that this is kind of has to do with texture, but you can look at any object and know exactly what it would feel like on your tongue. It's very interesting thought, and very true. If you've never tried it, look at something and think about licking it, and you'll know exactly what it would feel like. And then to touch on a later part of the reading, when I look through a telescope or microscope, I am as stuck in the world of appearances as I am when I see with my own unaided vision. This is something that I think about kind of often, where our model of the universe with atoms and neutrons and protons and electrons is all just our interpretation of, what makes up my hand. It's a complete guess, no matter how much science that they do, no matter if they use, you know, electron imaging or magnification, or there's a lot of different ways. I took biology a while ago, but I forget them now. But no matter how much we break down the shape, we're still seeing that shape with our eyes. So, for all we know, those models are entirely inaccurate. Which I think that if you look at the last question that they ask, there really is no way to know what the world truly looks like. And even the idea of what the world truly looks like, I think, is a impossibility, because there is no true world. All we get is perceptions, no matter who you are. And now you could, say that there is objects for everything that I interact with. It must be an object. But then you think of air or dark matter, and you interact with it, and you displace it as you move through it. But is it an object? The atoms of air are an object. But this is getting outside the realm of philosophy maybe, but dark matter is nothing that we can perceive. It's just something that, when we look at it, our vision goes through it. Our sense of touch cannot comprehend it. Our sense of smell, sound, nothing works. None of our senses work in it. But who's to say that it's just a shortcoming of us? There could be a species that that lives entirely in a realm that we just can't see or feel or touch or interact with. But to us, reality is what we can see, even if we never know that my reality is the same as yours. It's all we can have. So I think that you accept that there is a world beyond appearances, but you can't. I mean, it's beyond our imagination to see anything outside of our senses and to experience anything outside of our senses. So we can't ever solve that problem. But I am about to take a philosophy of reality course, so you're going to come along this journey with me to figure out what we can learn about the unknowable. Um, I hope there's much to learn. But if not, it's always interesting to ponder. 11 minutes. Probably going to be 12 by the time I finish this. Seems like a solid length for an ASMR video. Future videos may have longer readings and thus be longer, but for now, I'm gonna end my first video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I sounded nice, and I will continue to make these videos. So to all the many people that I'm sure are watching this video, I don't really know. Come back if you want. I'll be here, regardless of who's watching. Have a nice reality.